The call of the Hawks can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
And welcome into the Pod at the Palace post-game show presented by SARACEN, Arkansas's #1 sports betting app. Thank you in advance if you are here. We certainly do appreciate that after what we just witnessed. Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis here with you tonight, following Arkansas's 111-77 loss at Florida. It feels ridiculous saying that. The longest game that was ever played. That was a nightmare, folks. It was a nightmare. It kind of feels like John Calipari maybe knew that was coming. He just thought it was going to be last Saturday instead of this one. Remember when he said, I was prepared to defend my guys if they just didn't bring it? I kind of hope he doesn't do that, honestly, because you already had the burn the tape game. So I hope that before we're out of here tonight, we get some quotes from him that aren't just, playing the hits, because that was an embarrassment. It was from the actual play on the floor to I thought the cheap shots that the guys started taking down 35 and already stuffed in a locker. Florida put the walk-ons in on you, and they could have done it with about 10 minutes left if they wanted to, if we're just being honest, right? So there are levels to this, and Arkansas is not on the same level as the team that it played tonight. They're not. Florida looked like it was playing a different sport, so credit to them. I'm not happy about it, but it's true. The Gators are miles ahead of Arkansas. The Razorbacks were overwhelmed. They were overmatched on both ends of the floor and at every position. Okay, it was the bigs, the guards, everybody. Florida dictated things from start to finish. So credit to them. They're a national title contender. We saw an elite team make a good team look awful. And to make matters worse, I thought that with College Game Day in town, a national audience, the way that they conducted themselves was fairly embarrassing also.
Yeah, absolutely. Game certainly got away from them, and you could see they didn't like that. And we've seen that happen a couple times now. I think it happened in that Georgia game where you could feel the game slipping away, and you could tell they made a realization that they weren't going to be able to make it up on the scoreboard, but maybe they could make it up with an elbow to the gut or whatever. That is kind of a common theme we've seen with this team. But you're 100% right. This is not a burn the tape type of game. One, you've already done that. But
Yep.
Two, this is the type of game you do the exact opposite. I think this game is exactly what you point to and say, hey, here's where we're deficient. This is what a team that has it all rolling. This is what the cream of the crop in the SEC looks like. This is what a defending national championship team looks like. This is what a team with a big-time culture, big-time, obviously physically imposing squad, but also just everyone firing on all cylinders. Everyone on that Florida team was doing their job. Everyone on that Florida team was bringing it on both ends. That is the standard that you are going to have to try and top in the NCAA tournament. If you're going to make a deep run and you're going to go to the Elite Eight, Final Four, you're going to have to beat maybe this exact Florida team, but a team like that, whether it be a Michigan, whether it be Arizona or Duke, someone like that you've already seen before, you're going to have to beat someone of that quality, someone that is rolling at the peak of their powers. So I think that's something that this Razorback team can actually, you always say you learn in losses. That it's good for you to face teams like that, but no, don't burn the tape. I want you to see exactly where you stack up and where you're deficient. And I think everyone's obviously going to harp on the front court matchup because that was the thing coming into it. That's what we knew already. We went into this matchup with that baked into the equation of we know Arkansas's front court is going to be soft inside. Can they win in spite of that? The answer was not only no, it was hell no. And I think that's the most disappointing part to me is not only were you not able to match up in any way on the physicality, which we knew, but you weren't able to implement your game at all. You weren't able to turn the gun on Florida and make them worry about you getting out in transition, although they got a few little runouts here and there, but you weren't able to get going offensively at all. And credit to Florida. They deserve a lot of respect for that because they shut Arkansas down. Their length and their physicality was definitely bothering Arkansas, but Arkansas couldn't get going offensively in that one. That's the disappointing part to me, less so than the front court being bad that we already knew was bad.
Yeah, no, I think I'm with you on that one. I'm really going to try my best because, again, this was frustrating, right? And I'm trying not to use the word unacceptable because what does that mean? It was unacceptable. What are you going to do? Fire somebody? No, you're not going to do that. What are you going to do? Bench somebody? You can't. You don't have enough players. But it is super frustrating. It's very disappointing for Arkansas to just not be ready for the challenge in a game like this because, frankly, even if they were, they still would have lost and probably fairly handedly. You know what I mean? It's just we now know that if Arkansas runs into a Florida or a Michigan type team with that size, they are in deep trouble in the tournament. Absolutely. We kind of thought that would be the case, but you were wondering after the little stretch here, are the guards good enough? Can they do that? no, that's going to be a problem if they run into that. Fortunately, there's only a small handful of teams that are built like that. And there just seems to be real separation between the elite tier and then that next tier. And I think the silver lining here might be that the Hogs got run out of the gym so bad that they might have played their way to that 6 line. And they can avoid one of those teams until later. So this actually helped Arkansas's chances to make a deep NCAA tournament run. Don't yell at me. I'm joking. I'm the kind of guy that laughs at a funeral. I mean, what do you want from me? But yeah, that was a frustrating showing. The front court, you knew right away for Arkansas that was not going to go well for him, right? Trevan gets a foul 26 seconds into it, and then he was soft as could be the rest of the half there because he not only did he not want to pick up a second, he couldn't pick up a second. Pringle, if he is just in there in the paint taking breaths, he's going to get fouls called on him. And that's just a thing that happens there. So it was non-effective from that standpoint. We know Ewan's not good on defense. So all of our nightmares from a front court standpoint played out. But I'm with you. What surprised me the most was that the guards weren't able to get going. Florida really dictated things, man. This is the first time all season that I thought length really had Arkansas in a blender in there. And they were just chucking things up there at the rim. Everything was off balance. They weren't getting quality looks. They didn't make enough threes. They didn't attempt enough threes, but it's because Florida, man, those guards can apply so much ball pressure because if you drive by them, they've got 3 7-footers who are just hanging out there to clog everything up in the paint. They really had Arkansas off balance in there. So they didn't have a chance defensively. I'm with you. I was surprised that they weren't able to at least keep pace longer than they did, which was like 8 minutes on the offensive end of the floor. Billy Richmond, I felt like, was the only guy who frankly looked like he belonged out there tonight. And that's disappointing and surprising to me.
Yeah, 100%. And you mentioned being ready for the challenge. Billy Richmond very much was that. And, Florida's length and physicality, it was the same length and physicality when he was driving to the rim than it was when Darius Acuff or Malik Thomas or Trevan Brazil or whoever was at the rim. But Billy was not going to be stopped. He just knows how to get to those spots. And, I think this is a game where, we talked about it coming into the year of like, oh, there's going to be times where Arkansas's freshman backcourt, they look like a freshman backcourt. We really haven't gotten that much at all throughout the year. It wasn't as simple as like, oh, those guys just weren't ready. But you saw both of those guys very conscious of what they were up against. And not to say that they were like intimidated or scared. I just think when you're going up for a floater, you're aware of who's defending you. You're aware that Chinny Lou might swat that shit, and it affects the way you're going to, go about it. It affects the trajectory, the angles, and Arkansas just couldn't figure that out. And on the other end, Florida had such an easy understanding of how to get to certain spots and get those easy looks, and theirs were just falling in easy. They were getting clean looks consistently, and Arkansas was forcing so much. And really, that stretch early in the first half, the second part of the first half, where Arkansas just missed floater after floater and layup after layup, that's where Florida really made that separation. And then by the time Arkansas even got their feet under them and kind of figured out, Acuff started getting some buckets to go in the second half. By that point, the game was already over. And you had kind of already failed in the challenge at that point. And then they quit again in the second half a little bit. Yeah,
you could feel it coming, I felt like, in the first half. Because Arkansas, they got out to an early lead, and it was like 16-12 or something, and I don't know, man. I just felt like it was like a matter of time before Florida really started to figure it out. They were just so much longer. The shot selection wasn't great. Now, Billy, in the beginning, I thought we had something there because he was taking Thomas Houck off the dribble, and it looked like they might have been able to really exploit that matchup. They adjusted that pretty quick, but when Acuff started missing all those runners in there and shots at the rim, he was kind of getting into the chucking mode a little bit, and it was like, I don't know. And Florida, surprisingly enough, because Arkansas is so fast and so athletic, and they run the floor so well, they were killing Arkansas in transition too. Just flying up the floor. The bigs were Arkansas's big men don't play hard enough to win a game like this. And you can look at it and say, well, yeah, the rebounding and the physicality and defending the block and everything like that, that's been, a big problem area for them all year. They don't run the floor hard enough to keep up with Houck and Condon and Chinny Lou out there. I mean, they were just beating them down the court and getting layups in there. So it was brutal, man. I mean, 111 points. That's 56% from the field. They made twice as many threes as Arkansas did. You put them on the line 32 times. I guess you turned them over 12, but it doesn't matter. That was just it was belt to ass, man. There's no other way around it. Not going to do a silver lining thing. Now, I'm going to try to avoid doing the season's over now type of deal, because they're legitimately going to be a top 6 seed in the tournament, and we'll see what the matchups look like. But when you play a team like this, you're probably screwed. Yeah, of course, all that. But is this a burn the tape game? Is it a learn from the tape game? What I worry about is after something like this, does it shake your confidence? Because it's not like they just played a bad game and they lost to a really good team. Like, they got embarrassed. They looked like they didn't belong out there on the floor. And it was a bad enough beatdown to where I hope it doesn't get into their psyche and impact them some moving forward, because it's getting into mine right now. I'm looking at it going, good God, how do you turn around from that in a couple days? They better show more mental toughness over the next few days getting ready for Texas than they did during the game today, where instead of locking in and, kind of forgetting about the score and just trying to put some good possessions together, they got mad, they got chippy, they're taking cheap shots at guys. Cal and Todd Golden are yelling at each other, and it just became like a freaking carnival out there.
Yeah, I think the confidence factor is certainly real. And I think timing wise, that's the one, you were talking about silver linings earlier. It's not a silver lining, but it's not the same as if this game had happened as like your last game going into the NCAA tournament. It's a little bit different. Arkansas is going to have some opportunities to bounce back or not bounce back, whatever. They'll have at least a couple weeks there. And then who knows, maybe you'll have to play this same Florida team in the SEC tournament, which maybe then there's an opportunity to like show your progress. And, we learned a little bit here. I'd rather just avoid that altogether. But no, you're 100% right that obviously you're not going to face teams in this kind of matchup, most nights. It's like the little brother that is used to playing up with the big kids. He's used to playing with his older brothers. He looks great when he's against kids his age because he's used to finishing over taller guys. He's used to kind of having to do everything right to get buckets. I think there's something from that Arkansas can take where it's like you kind of see a matchup like this and you're like, here's what you're going to have to do to get good looks. It'll be easier to do that against worse teams. And so I think there's a chance Arkansas maybe overcorrects and, whip someone's ass by 30. But I think the confidence, getting this team healthy, getting this team refreshed, getting this out of their system, and taking what you can from this. Because I really don't think this is a burn this tape and never talk about this game again. You need to have it in the back of your mind, but you still have to get back to playing your brand of basketball.
Yeah, no, for sure. And we're going to get into the chat, but I just saw this one and I thought it was an interesting question from Jerry Bailey. It says, they just beat us worse than they did any other SEC team. I'm guessing yes. And so for me, that's a big part of why this irritates me so much. Now, I'll offer a little bit of perspective before I tee off on this, but like Duke, for example, we know that they're one of the elite teams in the country. They just ran Virginia completely out of the gym today. Virginia is a, projected 4 seed. Michigan, who we know is like one of those elite teams, the top tier teams, they blew Illinois out of the water, right? Arizona just did that to Kansas. Like this is what elite teams do. So Arkansas is not alone in a team that got the belt today. But what's most disappointing to me is that we thought that this group was done with the lack of competitiveness. Florida can be definitively better, but you can be competitive. And Arkansas just wasn't in this basketball game. Plenty of teams in the SEC have at least been competitive against Florida. Missouri beat them. They're playing way better basketball now. Auburn beat them in that building. They're playing better than that now. But Kentucky even played them to it was a 9-point game, and Florida controlled it most of the way. But they look like they belonged out there on the floor. Texas the other day had them down. It was on the road, but at the 8-minute timeout before they pulled away. And that's a situation where you walk away from it going, you know what? The better team pulled away and won a game like they should have in the end. But that's not what happened here. This looked like Florida was playing Arkansas Tech in a November, bye game or something. It just that's what pisses me off about this.
100%. And I don't want to turn this into like a glazing Florida fest here, but I mean, listen, you got to give credit when it's due. And I think that's the most impressive part is how prepared Florida was for everything that Arkansas brought to the table. We were very aware of what Florida brought to the table and kind of what you're going to have your hands full with that matchup. And not to say Arkansas they definitely obviously weren't prepared, but they also just weren't able to present different challenges. You get beat, on the floor on one end, it's up to you to find a way to kind of all right, you beat me here, but I can beat you on this spot of the floor. And for, I don't want to single out Trevan and, because there's more guys, there's a lot of guys here, but Trevan does this consistently where when he gets beat on one end, it carries him, into the other end, where now he's thinking about that and he's still kind of in this little lull, and he kind of just fades away when other teams kind of present challenges to him early on. If he's able to present challenges to you, that might just be the way this game plays out. All of a sudden, he's a different, more confident player. I think Arkansas's got to, you jump about the competitiveness. There has to be a very simple mindset of, oh, you get your bucket against me here. I'm going to find a way to make it better on the other end. I'm going to outscore you. I'm going to be better at what I do than you can be at what you do. And Florida in this game was better at doing what Arkansas wanted to do, playing fast. They were ready for that. They were ready to get out in transition. And Arkansas not only couldn't match them at their game, they couldn't even play their own damn game.
No, no, there was none of that. If anybody was imposing the will, it was Florida. The most impressive Razorback today was that kid that showed up and crashed College Game Day and got all the the love in the pub there. Everything else was rough stuff for the Razorbacks. So I don't know, Andrew. I don't really feel like we need to get into the weeds too much about any of this. One thing I want to ask you, like the chalk talk, the X's and O's, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And no, the guards were not good either. It's like I'm not trying to put this entire game on the bigs. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of chats about this.
Of course.
But what is the plan for Arkansas defending the paint? I'm not really sure what it is that they're trying to do in there, because they seem awfully content to me to just play behind a big man and let teams dump it into the block and just shoot jump hooks. We'll go over either shoulder all day long. They never fight around and try to deny those post entries. They never send any help. There's never a dig down. They don't double from the other post. They don't double down from a guard. Nothing. It's just, hey, we're going to play behind. We're going to go one-on-one, and we're going to let guys go to work on us. And that's putting people on an island. That's barbecue chicken at all times, especially when you're not good at it, which Arkansas isn't, and they haven't been all season. It's like they're conceding points in there, and they're not trying anything different. I don't understand why there's not more adjustments from that standpoint, especially in Florida made shots today. But if you're going to help off of somebody on the perimeter, this is the team to do it against. They just weren't doing it. And then they call them the Gortat screens, but it's a guard drives and the big man seals off your big man, and teams just get layup after layup after layup after layup on Arkansas. And the only thing that happens is Ewan gets sealed off and he doesn't fight around and contest a shot at the rim, or Pringle does get around and then his body is just present and he's like a big lug in there and he gets whistled for a foul and it's an and one. It's just the slightest, the easiest things. They're not even, it's like they're not even trying. I just don't understand what's going on in there.
When Florida shot 8 of 19 from 3 in this game, so this is probably a tough time to try and make this point, but this was the specific matchup to where if you were going to just completely sell out and force a team, I can't remember who it was that, I think maybe Auburn, that forced Florida to take 33s or something like that. And we were like, dude, if Florida takes 33s, like that would be awesome. We could maybe rebound a few of those threes. And, they shot 42% tonight. So if they had taken 30 and made 42%, well then, okay, you can live with that. But I think this would have been the matchup I'm with you that I think it's about where you let them catch the ball at. Because a lot of times if they're catching the ball down on the block, by that point, it's already over. You can send a guy or do whatever you want. He's already got position. He's taller and stronger than your guys. He's going to be able to finish, even if there are 2 guys there. I think you've got to do better at denying before they can have those entry passes, but just trying to at least not let the guy dictate completely where he catches the ball and how easy that pass is getting to him.
Gosh.
Like at least try and maybe bait him into catching it at the high post. Maybe try and catch it, down more on the baseline. And then at least you have more options. When a guy catches the ball 4 feet away from the rim and it was a very easy entry pass to do it, at that point the possession is kind of over. And then it's just a matter of if he misses the layup and if you can get the rebound. Like once so I think it comes before the catch. And I don't know, man. I really don't I understand that playing a zone is kind of like almost admitting defeat. But I wonder if there's got to be some type of little wrinkle of, they're not just going to randomly bust out the 2-3 on these dudes, but there's got to be at least some type of things you can throw at guys just to show them and say, hey, this is something you have to spend 5 minutes at practice looking for this because we're going to do this weird little wrinkle. There is none of that.
Yeah, and you're right. It is admitting defeat. and they're probably not going to do that. But shouldn't they? I feel like they at this point you just got to
maybe
get
not full time, but like put like maybe just like, hey, at the under 12 timeout for the next 3 minutes, we're running this 1-3-1 stretch to the top of the half court or whatever, just to like force them to call a timeout and maybe think about it or whatever.
When you can't guard, you have to get gimmicky. Like that is your way to generate stops. When you can't just line up and guard somebody man to man, and Arkansas is unable to do that at least 4 out of 5 positions on the floor. At most times it feels like you have to be able to steal some possessions and get some stops. And a way to do that is to throw different looks at teams and make them uncomfortable. Even if it's, just a couple possessions at a time, and then you go back to it. And it could be going from a man to a zone. It could be going from one ball screen coverage to another. It could be going from not letting Ruben Chinyelu just stand on the block and catch post entries with you. The GAs provide more resistance in warmups than Arkansas's post players do against a guy like Chinyelu. They just let him catch on the block. What are we doing? You got to be able to mix it up and try some different things. But they don't. And so, yeah, some teams, Arkansas's length and athleticism can be disruptive, and they've improved from, like a 3-point defense standpoint, but they just continue to allow paint touches and bigs to just destroy them in there. So, yeah, we can call for try this, try that all we want to. And the reason we're doing it is because then at least we can look back at the end of the year and say, hey, at least we said it. We made some suggestions, but they're not going to do it.
Well, and there were a lot, and we've referenced this a lot with Muss about how his ability to just find one specific thing in a matchup, and a lot of times it was a star player or whatever, but also he would just say, hey, this team, they're one of the most efficient 3-point shooting teams in the country. Tonight, they're not going to be. Like, they might shoot 90% inside the arc, but they're not going to do that tonight. And, oh, this guy really likes to catch the ball right here. No, we're gonna double him off ball just to make sure he doesn't catch it right there, and we'll let their point guard have a wide open layup. Like, just kind of having these battles where you're almost tricking the opponent into playing something they didn't want to play just because you've kind of overcorrected in one direction. I would like to see at least some of that, but I guess just rolling the balls out and seeing how it plays out is kind of what we're gonna do.
I guess so.
Which
man.
Most games I am kind of okay with, if I'm being honest with you. But
most games they can outscore people, and but my God, that was not happening tonight. Okay, let me play the hits here again. Northwest Arkansas, are you ready to fight? Should we send the Razorbacks to Fight House Gym to get tougher in there? Yada, yada, yada. I do this after every loss, man, but it does kind of play. And also the place is really cool. You should go check it out, right? It's Northwest Arkansas's #1 boxing, MMA, and strength training gym, built for athletes, competitors, and anybody ready to push their limits. From high-energy cardio and boxing and MMA training to free weights, cardio equipment, sleds, and cross-training, Fight House Gym delivers everything you need to train at the highest level. You can push your body to the edge, then recover like a pro with our cold plunge and saunas designed to keep you strong and ready for more. Fight House Gym is now open at 10131 Webbway in Fayetteville, exit 58 off I-49. Sign up today at fighthousegym.com or call 951-623-9745 and step inside and bring the fight. Is it chat time? We ready to get into the chat?
Yeah, let's get into the chat.
I mean,
they'll because we always think of stuff
exactly
after we see the chat, and so sometimes it helps.
Yeah, it does for sure. And again, appreciate everybody for hanging out. Yeah, it's the trolls like, hey, this is your time. We get it. Razorback fans, this is probably your time to get some things off your chest and then try to see if you can get a decent night's sleep or something.
Sure,
but
yeah.
The student section pod, we appreciate you, says Booger's defense consists of bear hugs and hand checking. TB's a sore loser. I never want to see Nick Pringle in our jersey ever again. I want to talk about all 3 of these things, but go ahead.
Let's get this out of the way right now.
Yeah.
I don't know I haven't spoken to you about this, so I don't know where you stand. I'm going to say where Andrew Ellis, stand on this.
Sure.
We have defended Boogie Fland several times this year from this very fan base and said, hey guys, there doesn't need to be all this personal animosity. Boogie can do his thing. We'll do our thing. It's all good. Even 3 days ago on the show, we did this very thing. F that, dude. Boogie, we look past a few things. We let you throw a little bitty slick dig, and we said, oh, you know what? He probably didn't mean it that way. Nah, you're going to do this whole game of, no, nobody was texting me whenever my hand hurt. We have video footage of them on the phone with you.
You got a big nose.
After their big win, their first SEC win, which came without you, by the way. And then they're following 8 or 9 or whatever it was. They all came without you. We have video evidence that what you are saying is not true. Now you're doing this, and it really is like, not that I wish poorly on the man. Like, I hope him and his family have a great life together or whatever, but damn, why? Like, just shut up. Stop talking about us.
Yeah, it didn't have to be that way because there seemed like a mutual, parting of ways. It made sense. He's in a good situation. Arkansas's got Acuff, all those things. And yeah, it felt like maybe those comments could have been taken out of context or whatever. But I guess what they showed before the game, which first of all, that was like TMZ-ish of ESPN to do, I thought, right before the game. It's like, why push that?
Literally as they're
tip off.
The tip ball. Yeah.
I thought that was really weak, and I tweeted about that. But the comments themselves, that did irritate me. I guess that was on his personal YouTube channel or something where he said that.
Which I should say, I haven't gone and listened to the whole video. Perhaps, and stunning. Stop the presses. It's possible that ESPN took it out of context and framed it a certain way to trigger me. That is possible.
Sure. Either way, I don't like that because you're right. It does kind of change the way I feel about the situation. I don't wish ill will for him. I hope he has a successful career. I hope he makes it to the league and all those things. But that's frustrating. Like it does make me feel a little bit differently. Now the other stuff here, TB being a sore loser, indefensible. What he did, indefensible.
Well, this is also example 12 of this. Like he does stuff like this a lot.
Yeah, like it's ridiculous. It's kind of interesting that on the pregame show this morning, I was doing the bit, and we talked about it a little bit on Inside Arkansas Live, Andrew. We're like, well, who's our least favorite Gator of all time? And I was like, I can't stand Colin Castleton, man, and some of these other guys. But then I reversed it, and I was like, what do you think the answer to that question is when other fan bases say, who's your least favorite Razorback of all time? Like, who's the dude that you hate? And I was thinking, like, I wonder about, how do people feel about Mason Jones back in the day? Man, Anthony Black used to talk a little bit, but then I was like, it's Trevan. Yeah. Trevan's the answer. And it's, like the stuff with Missouri or whatever, and he took the shot at them a while back. Okay, fine. But the stuff that he does after he and Arkansas have been physically punished, and bullied for an entire game, that's such a bad look. It's a bad look on the program. It's a bad look on him. Like the Michigan State thing where he smacked the kid with the towel after you guys, lost the game over there and you're frustrated. The game was over against Kentucky and he threw the kid to the ground at half court. It's like, why? The cheap shot, illegal screen that he had against Missouri in a moment where it could have cost them last weekend. And then this where, you get the ball stolen from you. You feel like you got fouled and you're mad about it. And you run back down the floor and shove Boogie to the ground with 2 hands in his back. That's a cheap shot. It's not okay. I'm glad he got taken out of the game the rest of the way. I'd suspend him for a half. And that could really – Arkansas would be screwed if they did that. But at some point, I mean, there's got to be like some consequences to the actions here. It's one thing to get frustrated and, like some of the flagrants that were called in there. Or you actually, you accidentally go high on a guy or, they're chin you lose, pushing you around and you grab his shoulder and yank him to try to get around him, but it's not a basketball play. That's all one thing. But like shoving guys in the back and smacking people with towels and the cheap shots, you can miss me with that, man. I'm really, really disappointed to see that because a whole lot of the conversation coming into this season for Trevan was that mentally he's in a better place, like the mental toughness, the confidence, and all those things. And there's been stretches where we've seen that, but when adversity strikes, man, he reverts back to some of those things. I think back to a couple years ago, kicking the kid in the back in the Bahamas, and it's been one thing after another. And this is just another example of it. And it's already a bad enough look when you're getting beat by 40, and then to start doing that kind of stuff, it's like, what the heck are we doing here, my guy?
For sure. And like, look, if this were just a basketball thing of, hey, we go into a matchup against a good front court and you don't bring it, like that is one thing, which, by the way, we are going to talk about the game and what matters. Having your starting 4 come ready to play is kind of one of the requirements if you're going to beat a team the caliber of Florida with the type of front court they have, and you need him to be the most dynamic version of himself. So that's disappointing, but it's something we can live with, and we certainly wouldn't be, harping on it as aggressively if it were just that. But you're right, man. Like, and we've been with Trevan through everything. We were.
I
with
know
him.
him. That's what drives me nuts about that.
We were with him when he was 19 and he was young, and kind of learning, and we felt like he was kind of coming into his own over the years. And he's on that must team where that was kind of out of his control, and we were willing to kind of look past that. And then even last year, there were some ups and downs, but we felt like down the stretch he was a better player and kind of seemed to be coming into his own as a person too. And that was why it was such a big deal to get him back. And he's definitely this is the best year of his career from a production and all that standpoint. And he has been better about being consistent and showing signs of growth and playing fairly reliable basketball for the most part. But he just gets back into these old habits, and
man,
it's like, you're 23, dog. You're 23. Like, this is year 5, year 6, whatever it is. And it's like, what do you want to do with your career? What is it you want to do? Like, do you really, how do you view yourself? And I just wish at some point he would look around and see all the things he can accomplish and be like, that's what I want to be. I want to be like that. I want to be the guy that does things right. And I want to put all this behind me. But I guess it's just, it's still in there, and it comes out in these weird moments.
Yeah, it does. And again, because I do want to be clear, if it was, if he's getting flagrants or technicals or whatever, because it's a super physical game in the front court, in the post, and he's getting, pushed around, he's getting hit, he's getting shoved, and then he gets pissed in there and throws an elbow in the heat of the battle, or, overdoes it. And, like a frustration type of thing from that standpoint. Very different. But, turning it over and rolling your eyes and then jogging back down the court only to shove a guy in the back after the play. Come on, man. You got to be better than that. He knows that. Cal knows that. I wonder if he said anything about it in the post game, whatever. The Nick Pringle thing, I'll skip the part about never wanting to see him in a jersey again and everything like that. I know people are very frustrated, but this is just such a horrible situation for Arkansas to be in from a standpoint of you have pieces on this team that are, it's tough to say tonight, but good enough for you to do something, really, really cool, to have a special type of season. When you have a guy like Acuff, Billy Richmond coming into his own, there are pieces there. It's like, man, the lack of depth on this roster combined with having a guy right now, he's giving you nothing, man. And I hate it for him because I get it. He's a really good dude. He's a leader, a good teammate in the locker room. All those things are true, and it's valuable. But it's a situation, Andrew, where he has to play. You don't have enough bodies, man. You got 7 guys right now, and I know Ewan's not starting. He played 26 minutes. I actually thought he would have played more than that. But again, when you go out and you invest in a guy, if you're going to go short roster like Arkansas does, you cannot miss. Like, you're vulnerable to injuries and everything like that, but that's out of your control. That's why I would go get more players, but that's out of your control. What is under your control is the evaluation aspect of this.
Yeah.
And they just flat out got it wrong, man. And I'm not trying to take it's nothing personal. It's no dig or anything like that. Giving them nothing here except fouls. And it's another situation where you get 11 minutes, 4 fouls, a couple rebounds, 0 of 5 at the free throw line, and it's a liability on the floor from a production standpoint. And what makes it tough is that there's just nothing they can do about it. There's nothing they can do about it.
When you build your roster, there are some times where you at least have variables that you're like, okay, this is something that we don't know for sure. So you try and bake in, for example, if you don't know for sure that Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas are going to be 35-minute per game guys, that's why you have DJ Wagner. That's why it's important to bring him back. And then, of course, having Carter and Billy, having these veterans that are kind of there in case. And getting Trevan back, I think, was kind of a big case in giving you some flexibility. But this roster was built. Nick Pringle was not one of those variables that you're like, oh, we don't know if this guy's going to be good or not. So they didn't get in case of emergency for him, because he was supposed to be that. He was supposed to be the guy you got to make sure that Malik and Trevan had backup, and that Malik and Trevan had someone that could give them a few minutes off, and that they could kind of rotate in. Like, he was supposed to be that. And so, everyone always says, hey, we'll just bench him or whatever. That it's way too late for that. One, because you don't have a guy on your roster, but it's like the roster was built specifically thinking that he was going to at least just be who he was.
Yeah.
For the other 5 years of his career.
Yeah, no doubt. That's exactly right. And again, like, don't get it misconstrued. We understood the assignment for Pringle coming into the year And also coming into this game, I didn't expect Nick Pringle to start and shut down Ruben Chinyelu, right? I didn't expect that at all, but he had to be able to give Arkansas more length in that rotation. He had to be able to give him minutes. He had to be able to defensive rebound, which is something he's done his entire career, and at least pose a somewhat of a line of resistance in there, and none of that was able to happen. He had 4 foul calls. Here's the thing about Pringle, though. He's a foul magnet. And sometimes foul magnets get whistles that they don't earn, but like his body just being in there, he was getting calls. The dude got smacked in the face and got a foul called on him. Like he couldn't really catch a break in this particular game, but you can't go 0-5 at the free throw line and get dominated there and only play 11 minutes, man. It is what it is, you know. Mm-hmm. Frustrating deal, because I know people are like, start Ewan. Okay, fine. I agree. We've been saying that for the longest here. Wouldn't have changed anything in this game, but Malik Ewan ain't playing 40, you know? So what are they going to do? Play Trevan at the 5? Is that what y'all want to see? And then what? Because you don't have any players on the wing that can slide down and play. Like they can't do it, and they put themselves in this situation, but they're going to have to deal with it. Filthy Tom says, did not like how repeatable that looked for teams with elite bigs. Turning may be very matchup dependent. 100%. It's absolutely matchup dependent for Arkansas. The good thing is, how many teams have elite bigs? You know what I'm saying?
Maybe 4 in the whole field. It's
really those 1 seeds. If you think about it, like it's Florida, who you just played. It's Michigan. It's, Duke with Boozer and Malawatch. You've already seen them. I think that's maybe a slight tick down from those other teams, but that's very formidable. Arizona would be another one. Yeah, and I'm sure there's another couple in there. But you're right. You need the right draw if you're Arkansas to make a deep run here. If they stay in the 5 seed range, then they're probably going to face one of these teams. If it's not a given, if they make the Sweet 16, if they get on the 6 line, maybe they could avoid them until the Elite 8 or something. But this is also a team that, independent of their issues with elite big men, they're going to be vulnerable. Like we're going to be sweating out every matchup that they have. They got talent. They got some stuff they got to figure out. This was like I feel like they got exposed a little bit. It's things that we already knew, but when it happens like this, what was the margin? Like almost 40 points, come on, man.
Well, and it's like, if you're going to find yourself in another spot like this, you have to do the things that we talked about coming in. Like, you have to make them uncomfortable with your pace. You have to have one of those 22 assists, 6 turnover type of games. You have to shoot the 3. Arkansas did not shoot the 3 or even really attempt to shoot the 3. Like, there's got to be some type of other equalizer if you're just going into these matchups and just assuming, all right, hey, you get X amount of paint points, you get X amount of offensive rebounds. Cool, we'll spot you that. We're going to hit 9 threes. We're going to have, 25 fast break points. We'll call it even. Like, you have to be able to throw something else at them. And we learned in this matchup, if it is Florida, Arkansas ain't got much they can throw at them.
No, it does not seem like they do. I've seen several people in the chat that are like, what about Elmer, man? The great equalizer. No. but honestly, never mind. I'm not ready to go there.
Here's the thing, and I'm being dead serious, because like, it really is at this point where it's like, I don't know really what, how it could be worse. And I mean that, and I know people say that a lot and don't really mean it. When you really are having a guy that's like multiple 0 point, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 blocks, 0 steal efforts, where he's a negative on the floor, you get out rebounded, he commits fouls. That really is, it's like, approaching the territory of like anybody could do that. Genuinely.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. It's just, it makes me uncomfortable that we're having that conversation. A few hours ago, we were feeling really good about things, and now here we are. Shout out to OZK Insurance. We appreciate him for sponsoring our post-game content here with the Pot the Palace. And you guys know the drill by this point. It's an independent insurance agency, which means they can shop all the carriers for you. They're going to find the best coverage and prices for you out there, no matter what it is you're looking for. And now they've got this fancy new full-service mobile app that you can take advantage of, where it's got all your policies under one roof, home, auto, whatever it is you might have. You can pay your bills, you can file claims, request policy changes, or even get new quotes all right there from your phone. So if you're tired of being stuck with one carrier or chasing down paperwork, Go to ozkinsurance.com or search OZK Insurance in the App Store or Google Play. It's a local agency with national level options, one powerful app. That's OZK Insurance. All right. Should we have the Acuff conversation real quick? I don't know if we
can, but it's not going to be that long of one for me.
Yeah, because some people were saying, hit me on Twitter and saying, hey, Cal should just get him out of the game now. And I agreed with that. Like when it was 30 some odd points and there's 14 minutes left, I'm kind of thinking, yeah, dude, get him out of there, whatever. And then obviously, some people after this, because now you're eliminated from SEC title contention, are saying, okay, is it time now to give him the rest that he needs and everything like that? And so I do want to have a conversation about it because I do agree that you need to get him as close to 100% once you get to March Madness and everything. That's a fact. That's for sure. I kind of thought he was just bad today. Yeah. More so than I thought he looked. I thought that he looked hurt at times against Missouri and in the game against whoever they just played, Texas A&M. I thought he looked hindered by that. I thought he was moving pretty well, not 100%, but I thought he looked better than he had, I guess is what I'm saying. So that's part of it. And if you feel differently, tell me, because who knows, I might not be right, but that's part of it. And then my other thing here, Andrew, is I just think it's so important for Arkansas to get the double bye in Nashville. It doesn't matter if you set him now. If all of a sudden you're playing on Wednesday, it probably wouldn't be that bad. Or Thursday in the tournament, like getting those extra days, that's huge for everybody. Because that's the thing about if you set Acuff at this point where you're so short-handed right now, that's 38 minutes that are going to have to go to other guys, and it's going to wear them down even more. So I don't know if I'm there just yet. My thing is beat Texas, because believe it or not, they're still in really good shape to wind up getting one of these double byes. It's not a given. They're going to have to ward off Tennessee and Missouri here. But if you can get to a spot where you've kind of clinched that, we don't have that conversation of, Saturday of next week. I'm all for it. But I think that getting the double bye and getting that rest before postseason starts is more important to me than trying to do it now. And then what? Bring him back Saturday. And, so I think that's where I'm at with it, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Well, and the reason the double bye is so important is, one, you get the rest, but also the maximum amount of games you could play would be 3.
Exactly.
Like even if you won the tournament and it's like, oh, is it going to take a lot out of you? If you only play 3 games in 3 days, that's really not that crazy when you get a week off afterwards. And so, like you said, you rest them and then you play 4 games in 4 days. You've now counteracted that rest effectively. I agree with everything you said for the most part. I mean, I don't really think there's anything I disagreed with, but I specifically agree with, is Acuff hurt? Yes. Is he more hurt in this game than he was in the game before? No.
Right.
And that's where it's like, obviously, is the dude 100%? Hell no. Nobody on the team's 100%, and he definitely ain't 100%. But I don't think he's, getting worse and worse as these games are going on. In fact, like you said, I kind of thought, from an injury standpoint, he's probably more healthy in this game than he was in the ones before. But I think it's probably about even for most of these. And I think his struggles tonight were, some decision-making and just, being affected by the defense that he was facing. You have a couple that don't go in, couple tough looks, whatever. I thought from an athleticism standpoint, he looked perfectly fine. Ball handling was okay. Like I thought he was the same usual Acuff, but some of those tough shots that he makes just didn't go in. And, okay, he was kind of due for something like that anyway. And against a really good defense, cool. That's what I think happened tonight.
Yeah, and I do wonder how much of it is, I know he's not practicing now, you know what I mean? And so it's like a lack of reps outside of game day, like maybe where the touch is a little bit off compared to what it normally would be. Maybe there's something, with that too. And I don't know. Let me ask you this question. No disrespect to the other guys. Does Arkansas beat Texas Wednesday if Darius Acuff doesn't play?
No, they don't beat him if Darius Acuff doesn't play.
I don't think they do either. Do they win at Missouri Saturday if Darius Acuff doesn't play?
Probably not.
Okay. So unless we're ready to concede those games, and I'm not going to pull up the bracket thing and see what that would look like from a seeding standpoint, probably not the best option for this team. And then you got to do the weighing the risk and reward of getting your guy in Acuff healthier versus what is this going to do to everybody else? What's it going to do to Billy at that point, or Malik Thomas, or these other guys? This is not a great situation for Arkansas to be in.
I want to take time to address the worst chatter we have. Truly the worst one. And we have a lot of stinkers in here. The worst one.
Okay.
This guy who says, everyone's heard it's the end of the season. Stop making excuses for Acuff. You have real issues comprehending. That's the exact opposite of what we're doing. We're saying he's not more hurt today than he has been for the last 5 games when he's averaged 30. We are literally, that's the argument we are making, is that we don't buy, oh, he's banged up and that's why he was 6 for 19. We think he had trouble against a good defense and, some shots didn't fall. That's what happened. We're making the exact opposite of excuses for Acuff. In fact, we're saying he's a big boy. Not only is he fully okay with taking accountability for today's effort, and you saw him, by the way, so much frustration on his face.
Very frustrated.
As there should be. He should be annoyed with how it went down. He should be pissed off, and he should be itching to get back out on the floor, which I have no doubt he is. He's a big boy. He can handle what's going on. We can handle what's going on with him. If there's one guy on this team I'm not worried about, it's freaking Darius Acuff. I promise you that.
Right. I feel you. And then the first part of that, of everyone's hurt, is kind of my point. You're going to have to play 5 guys 40 minutes in these games that he doesn't play in, which is kind of my whole line of thinking of, you really just want to win enough games here to where you get 6 days off built in, because it's not going to go well, and it's not going to benefit the other guys out there on the roster if you have to play without him. So that, I thought we were being clear, man. I don't know. Hickory Hog 94 says, the good news is we will have a chance to get revenge next year on Boogie's. Hope he gets the boo treatment at Bud. He's earned the boo that guy at Bud thing.
Yeah, he'll get booed at Bud.
Yeah,
listen, it's really not even that malicious, but it's like, if you're gonna basically keep this thing going and keep talking about it, all right, we'll feel how we feel now. We have now changed our stance.
Absolutely, man. From Bo, he says maybe Cal realizes he needs to overpay for bigs.
Which, by the way, Arkansas, how much? I don't know how much Arkansas spent in the transfer portal this past year. Let's say they spent $3 million. All $3 million went to the front court. Mm-hmm. That is what happened. So it's like, and will they spend more? Yeah, maybe. But it's like, it's not like they didn't go get front court pieces in the transfer portal. They just got, 2, one that is completely unplayable and one that, is actually, I'm actually not that mad at Malik Ewan, for being honest with you. He's playing okay. But, that's what happened here.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I guess we'll find out if the money is infinite or not. You know what I mean? Because, for example, they wanted Morez Johnson. They recruited Morez Johnson. They made an offer to Morez Johnson. Michigan upped the bag, and Arkansas wound up getting Pringle and Ewan for what it would have cost to be able to get Morez Johnson. So if you had him now, would you be a better team? Yes. Would you have been able to get another big that could function? Probably not. And so that's what you have to consider. Who are they going to retain? Billy Richmond's cost to come back to Arkansas next year has gone up substantially. Anybody, for those of you who are saying, oh, Malik Thomas, he ain't ready for the draft, he's not going to the draft. Are you ready to pay him for what it's going to take to keep him from going there? Do you think Jordan Smith Jr. is coming for free? Do you think those other freshmen are coming for free? So there's a lot of money that's already being thrown out there. And my thought process on this is, I'm a little bit torn, because I'm with you. I feel like they got to overpay and go out and get a stud. They got to go out and get a dude. But at the same time, I'm looking at it going, they need more players. They need to add bodies. They need a third big that they can actually be able to turn to and utilize. They need more depth. And I feel like with Cal, we're probably not going to get all of those things. So then what does it look like? Because if you overpay, if you're going to pay a big guy $3 million or whatever to get him, are you then comfortable with Paolo Samito being your backup big next year? You better hit with your evaluation if that's the case. It is complicated, man. It is. Stephen Taylor says, if I have to hear that guy with the scratchy voice screaming during the stream again, first 5-ish minutes looked great, though. I'm hopeful for the tourneys.
I'm trying to think of who this is. Like, who with the scratch? Because, it was Billis tonight, wasn't it?
Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe Dickie V?
No, not
because he didn't call a game. But who had the scratchy voice?
I don't know. It's a good question. I'm gonna have to go look. I'm confused. I'm glad you're hopeful for the tourney, though.
Yeah, that's nice.
T Razorback says, "Is Leak saving his 3-point percentage for the NBA? He doesn't shoot."
I would also like to know. I don't think that's what he's doing, but I would like to know why 3-point attempts are just not something he's into anymore.
Yeah, it's like he just doesn't want to shoot them.
Dude, he was left wide open for one, and then he finally eventually pulled up. But I thought he was about to pass a wide open one up earlier. I don't know. I'm at a loss for words.
For Malik Thomas to take 13 shots in a game and only 2 of them be threes. Shot selection was a big issue for Arkansas in this game. And again, like that is literally part of Florida's defensive identity is they try to make you play one-on-one and they really overpressure you and run you off of the line because they know they've got people that can clean it up on the back end. So like that's some of it, but you're right. He was passing up on some of those looks there. He's got to hunt it a little bit more.
Yeah. He needs to hunt threes the way that DJ Wagner threes.
Well,
DJ Wagner's getting his.
Yeah, I mean, DJ took 4 3-pointers in this game, but you're telling me Malik Thomas couldn't get him up there? I know they're not guarding DJ as aggressively, but Leak's got one of the quickest releases in the country.
That was nice of you to add as aggressively to indicate that they are kind of maybe sometimes will guard him, but just not as aggressively. Although that one attempt they really genuinely did.
Yeah. But yeah, that's gotta irritating. 4 of 13 from 3. What were they weren't they like 4 of 17?
4 for 17 the other day.
And here's the thing, like if Trevan is just he's been shooting horribly in SEC play. And hey, shout out to DJ for going 3 of 4 tonight, but he hadn't been giving you too much. Carter's not playing. And so much of this from a perimeter shooting standpoint goes on Darius and Leak, and Darius is handling the ball all the time, and Leak doesn't want to shoot him. So
5 combined attempts from those guys.
Yeah, you're running out of volume unless those guys get more aggressive in taking some of those shots.
Yeah,
frustrating. I just want to pull this up real quick. 97 Impress says, Curtis and Andrew, I'm only here because I don't know what else to do. So that was so depressing. I appreciate y'all for being here and reacting. I know this is a terrible game to have to talk about. It's not fun. That's for sure.
Great.
Not the worst one.
I will say this post-game show isn't going as poorly as it probably could have. And I mean, these really are the ones that you just dread hitting go live. You're like, oh.
And I was wanting to hit go live for like an hour because it was the longest game in history. We probably should have just gone ahead and done it. But
I appreciate him saying he didn't know what else to do, which I think that should be like on our, that should be like one of our mottos of our company.
Yeah.
We're here because you're here because you don't know what else to do, which is what we're all doing.
Yeah. Exactly. Washburn Idol, appreciate the super chat. Thank you. Says Todd Golden's a man-child. SEC refs are a waste of oxygen. I'm taking a few days off to detox before Texas. Yeah, I'm not mailing it in, but I'm going to be putting less effort into the Pod at the Palace the next few days because I know ain't nobody be watching the damn thing. I want to talk about the Todd Golden thing real quick because him and Cal were getting chippy with each other, and then Todd Golden popped off and then immediately put his get back guy in front of him.
He did, and he did it was a delayed thing too because they had the flagrant on Nick, which turned out to be brilliant, where Nick picks up a 4th foul and he goes to the free throw line and misses them both. And after he missed them, that's when Todd Golden said something to Cal. And I don't know what that was. I didn't get it, and I couldn't lip read or whatever. I think he said something along the lines of, kind of like a ball don't lie type of thing there.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever it was, Cal didn't like it. And that's what got Cal going. And then there was a few back and forths there, but I think Cal probably didn't appreciate him trying to like show Cal up, where it's like, if you want to like yell at the refs and be like, oh, ball don't lie. Cool. But why are you directing that towards Cal?
Mm-hmm.
And Cal didn't like it.
No, Cal didn't like it. I didn't even like Cal getting chippy. I mean, it was very frustrating, and the officials were not good. But that had nothing to do with the outcome of the game. But when you're down 35, like it's just you kind of just need to eat it and move on to the next. Honestly, let's see. Big Red says we dropped a 20 on Kim Pom, Vandy at 15. Well, you lost by 50 tonight.
Yeah.
Arkansas
like that.
Arkansas was ahead of Vanderbilt and some of those other teams before the game. All they really had to do was just lose like a normal basketball team tonight, and it wouldn't have hurt them. But this is going to hurt them, and it should. I don't know if it's going to be like a seed line. All of a sudden they drop down to a 6 or whatever. I don't know if it's going to be like that bad because Florida is really good and it is on the road. But you're going to drop it. Ken Pom and Torvik and all those dumbass computer metrics that we talk about all the time. You tanked them because of this performance. So it's an irritating deal. Vanderbilt's never going to be punished for their crimes. It hasn't happened all season. It didn't happen when Arkansas beat them by 30. And it's not going to happen when Kentucky beats them by 20. So it's irritating, but we don't really have a leg to stand on. Yeah, I'm glad you told me that because I was going to check though and see like what the damage was for Arkansas. And I think they were the 15th or 14th going into the game. And
the points are the points, man. If you're projected to beat Winthrop by 26 and you beat them by 4, that's a huge difference in what the metrics projected you to do. The metrics project you to lose by 10 and you lose by 107. It's, that's a huge one there. And so, you lose your right to be mad at the nerds whenever you lose by 50.
And we'll wake up tomorrow because, Tennessee lost today, still ahead of you. Vanderbilt, 5 spots up on you. Alabama, 6 spots up on you. Good win for them tonight. But Arkansas put themselves in this spot by not showing up today. Ryan, I appreciate the super chat. I'm not pulling it up because of what you said.
But I didn't appreciate that.
Yeah, criticizing TB, which is what he does and everything. I'll address at least the first part of it. You said he's a terrible player. He's not a terrible player. He was terrible tonight. He was.
And by the way, we also did obviously have the TB conversation, and we were critical of him. Like, it's not that we're not trying to be critical of the guy, but when you become a little mean-spirited about things.
Which,
by the way, we'll get to another Ryan chat that's a little bit better note later.
Okay. All right. Good. I like that. I like that a lot. Blake Gilbert says, Billy was the only one who came to play at that level. Shot selection took a terrible turn. Threes didn't fall. Rather be blind than watch that. Billy was good for it. And so, 5 straight games of 20-plus points. He was awesome. He looked like he belonged out there. He matched intensity. He played as hard as Florida did. And he was kind of the only guy that felt like that. Shot selection was really bad. It's one thing just to miss shots, or miss them at the rim or whatever, but Arkansas was off balance. They were taking bad angles. And even Acuff, to a degree, they were just kind of getting in there outside the lane and just throwing it up. Just kind of throwing it up there at the backboard. Maybe somebody can come grab it. It was rough, man. It was really rough. I know the threes didn't fall and they didn't shoot enough of them. Matthew, I can admit Florida and Arkansas are both better than my Cats, but here's a hot take. UK will beat Florida at Rupp next week. Remember this comment.
Okay.
All right.
Florida's lost to Missouri and Como, so it's
I actually wouldn't be that surprised if that
right.
happened.
It's not, if they play like they played tonight, ain't nobody beating those dudes.
If I had to guess, I'd probably say Kentucky loses at Texas A&M because they don't have a point guard and they're going to get pressed for 40, and then they beat Florida, a Florida team who have already clinched everything they need to clinch, and will be on the road in a hostile environment. It's not going to be an easy game for them.
They'll go 2 for 28.
It was competitive at Rupp, so I actually wouldn't be surprised if that happened, to tell you the truth. But I will remember the comment. Skipped one. GT says Cal's ego is hurting this team. Short rotation and not bringing in depth fails. We need 3 bigs and 2 power forwards. Stop wasting roster spots.
So I get the roster construction annoyance. We talk about it a lot. How is that an ego thing related to Cal, though?
I probably speaking from the standpoint of being stubbornly unwilling to adapt from his ways, even after getting burned on it multiple times.
Okay.
I think it's stubbornness maybe more than ego, but I think I understand where he's coming from.
Yeah.
And I agree I get it. You did this at UMass 30 years ago, and it worked with, it was 6 guys and everything. And I know a couple of his really good teams at Kentucky had they played mainly 6 players and everything, but my thought process on it is, man, it doesn't have to be this way.
No.
you could have more functioning bodies on your roster and only play 7 of them. But then when somebody gets hurt, you can put somebody else in there. When you have foul trouble, you have situations like this where guys need rest, you can have more depth. We've talked about it so much. They missed the boat on the bigs this year in terms of them being as good as they thought they were going to be. They didn't get enough of them. They didn't get a backup 4. And if you're not going to get a backup 4, and you're going to use Carter Knox there, then you can't have him get hurt. And so it's just they did do this to themselves in terms of the things that we're looking at that are hurting them right now. They're still having a really good season, but it does kind of feel like a lot of this could be avoided if he would adapt, you know. But I'm with you. I think there's no reason for them not to have a fully functioning and loaded front court, you know, moving forward. Hayden says it was funny when Todd Golden and Cal were going at each other. Golden had to pull his assistant coach, in front of him. But seriously, when are we going to show up for big time games? Oh, they showed up for Bama. They lost.
Yeah.
But that was, you know, a lot of people were saying that was one of the best games of the year. And it's a really good Alabama team that they went on the road and showed up for.
Texas Tech,
you showed up for Texas Tech.
Which, by the way, they won. They beat Iowa State on the road tonight.
Out topping.
That's impressive.
It is.
Yeah, it's not like
they showed up for Louisville. They showed up for Vanderbilt, Tennessee. Yeah. I know those games were at home. But this was in fairness to what you're saying, they showed up for the Duke game, spotlight game, and everything. They lost.
They were there.
I wouldn't say they no-showed against Houston, but like they kind of got
no-show though.
It was close, yeah. Rough first half. Who else?
Michigan State was a slop fest, but they were there.
Yeah,
6 of the guys were there.
It is, yeah, exactly. It is a frustrating deal though when it's, you know, number 1 versus number 2 in the conference, and you know, because all the storylines were awesome, man.
Yeah, the SEC asked for a better red carpet for this.
The SEC's best offense versus the best defense. It's Thomas Houck versus Darius Acuff, the 2 SEC Player of the Year front runners, and like all that stuff was there. John Calipari, the Hall of Famer, against the defending champ, and then they just got completely ran over there. It's embarrassing, man. I love the amount of people though who were like commenting, like on Twitter or whatever. It's like, cause I was like, oh man, like they're doing the overrated chant at Acuff. That's awesome. Like this is going to be a fun game tonight. And people were like, having fun. How much fun is this? And everything. I was like, I'm not the one that was out there on the floor getting, ran through. So I'm good. I'm frustrated by it, but there's no reason why it shouldn't have been a fun game tonight, but it sure as hell wasn't. Chuck says, I'm in Debbie Downer mode, but this is how the season ends. We'll hang with anyone the first 2 games of the tourney, but when we get a 1 or 2 seed in the Sweet 16, I just don't think we have the firepower is an interesting word. I didn't think that's where this was
firepower is not necessarily. I mean, they didn't have a ton of it tonight, but Arkansas has the firepower to score 110 on like anybody. Just about, you know what I mean? Do they have the wherewithal to stop another team from scoring that? I don't know. And I do agree with the overall sentiment of like, are they going to beat that 1 seed that they face in the Sweet 16? Which at this point is, I think that's extremely possible that this season ends running into a team that's safely better than them in the, Sweet 16 round.
Yeah. And I don't think it's a Debbie Downer take to have. I mean, it's a lot of people felt that way before this game today.
It's what's statistically probable to happen. When the NCAA tournament comes out, you're a 4 seed, you're going to be projected to beat your 13. You'll be projected to beat the 5. You'll be projected to lose to the 1. So it's not a crazy sentiment.
Yeah, for sure. And, it's like if Arkansas winds up on the 6 line, you'll be projected to beat an 11, but then you'll play a 3. And I think most of the 3s, you feel decent about your chances, in the matchup there. It's not going to be a given, but I mean, they'll be projected to lose in whenever they face one of these 1 or 2 seeds. Some of them are better matchups than others, but if they play a team with a front court like Florida has, we know that it's going to be very problematic for them. The pathway for them to avoid what happened today in those games is for your star players to be your star players. Like it's not going to change overnight. Like if Arkansas played Florida again in the Elite Eight or something, it wouldn't change because all of a sudden Arkansas's front court was able to handle what Florida has going on there. It would be that Darius Acuff played the way he's capable of playing, and Malik Thomas shot 3-pointers, and Billy did his thing, and you were able to negate some of that. But yeah, the issues up front ain't changing. And it's going to be tough on them. I'm worried about Wednesday. I think they'll get it done because they're playing at home. The last game that Acuff's going to play in there, we hope, and everything like that. And Texas doesn't play a lick of defense either. So there's that, but their big man, Volca Titus, is going to cause problems for the Razorbacks. Swain, their Adu Thero, better version of Adu Thero, is going to cause Arkansas problems. So this is not going to be an easy game on Wednesday, and it's one that they just absolutely have to have. It's a must-win. So,
you know who I wish Arkansas had for the Swain matchup? Carter Knox.
Yeah, me too.
That'd be nice. Nice body to throw at him.
Me too. I feel a little bit better about it with Billy because I thought he did. I thought he was actually pretty decent against Hout.
Yeah, I would agree.
But Tuna's House says bad matchup for us, hands down. Surprised we shot crazy looking layups over floaters. Bigs will always be our downfall this year. Woo pig. Yeah, for sure. Definitely a bad matchup because you could have looked at it from the flip side and said this is a bad matchup for Florida's backcourt, but it wasn't.
No,
now we know that
they won the matchup.
Yes, they certainly did. Derek, good to see you in here, buddy. Says Cal will learn a lesson from this. You need legit bigs, not half price ones, and you need 9 or 10, not 7 or 8. You saying this and this being a fact are two different things, though. I hope that you're right, but I'm not going to go into the offseason trying to give out false hope to people. Like we've experienced this. He very publicly says exactly what he's going to do, and then he goes and does it.
Yeah.
I hope they get better bigs, but I don't think they're going to get – I don't think he's going to have 10 studs on this roster. And whatever we think is enough in the front court, I think you can probably subtract 1 from that, and that's what you're going to wind up with. I hate to be that guy, but I'm not going to do the thing where I'm on the Pod of the Palace every day saying, yeah, they're going to go get 2 centers and 2 starting power forwards, and they're going to get a shooter, and it just ain't going to happen. Like when he says 8 or 9, you need to be leaning closer to 8 than you are 9, much less 10.
And 8's if everything goes according to plan and nobody gets hurt.
Exactly. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's just where we're at. They just need to all be good, and they all need to be hits with the evaluations. Rufus, good to see you. He says, following this melancholy spectacle, I must submit myself to the cold plunge and a solemn reckoning with a heavy bag at Fight House.
I love it. I love it, Rufus. Even when the sun is not coming out to shine on our swine, we still appreciate you.
That's very good stuff there. And when you're done with that, you can come hang out with us at Blue Ember Smokehouse, which, by the way,
on Wednesday, it's just us.
Wednesday, yeah, just me and Andrew are going to be out there at Blue Ember at noon for Inside Arkansas Live. So if you're in the Rogers area, you want to come out and have lunch, come out and do that. And we would certainly love to see you. You guys know the drill. Come out there, hang out. Go to any of their locations. They got 6 of them in the state. Little Rock, Hot Springs, Jonesboro, Fort Smith, Rogers, Texarkana. I remember those now without having to look at my notes. So make sure you check it out.
That was good.
They'll cater for you too, right? Weddings. If you have a wife or a fiance that's down for a little barbecue catering, she's a keeper, first of all. Second of all, hit them up for that. Okay, what else do we have here? Quite a bit. Goodness. Thank you, Hayden, for becoming a member. We appreciate you.
Tar water. Hayden Tar water.
Interesting. Ryan says, why is Kenny Payne still employed? I'm sure he serves his purpose on this coaching staff. But I know what you're getting at, Ryan. It's the big sell there was 1, recruiting, and 2, the big man whisper, right? That's what we heard over and over and over. He's great with his work with the bigs and everything like that. Not working out for him so far. Ewan is fine, right? Do we agree with that? Is that fair?
Yes, Ewan has been fine. Not good but he's been fine the last 2 days.
Yeah. Pringle, it hasn't worked out. How much better did Big Z get? It's a fair question to ask. Jonas was hurt. It's like there's some circumstances with different guys. Trevan has gotten better, not where you want him to be, Ryan, and certainly not where I want him to be tonight. Adu, improved. I know he's not a big, but he played the 4 for him. But here's the deal: they've got to spin better. They've got to evaluate better. They have to develop better in the front court. Like there's no doubt about that. And to your point, as far as I know, that's a big part of like the latter part of that is a big part of Kenny Payne's job description. So I get it.
Yeah.
But,
and also, you know how these coaches are. You're always, as a coach in this industry, you're always down to let one of your buddies do nothing on your staff. It's just kind of a given that you kind of, at least one spot on your staff is just a guy you're friends with who doesn't want to do anything. And that's why he's here. Like,
yeah.
If someone wants to correct a record, please do. But yeah, there's guys like this on most staffs, I feel like.
Yes. T Razorback says, could there be a risk with 5th-year transfers that they're not playing for another big NIL bag the next year? I don't know about that, but I will say, and I don't mean this as a personal thing or that I think this is a huge part of the issue. I do find it interesting, at least, that Cal says the things he says about transfers. Hey, I'm fine. Like, you transfer one time, fine. If your coach leaves, transfer, fine. After that, you have to set it. Like, he's really big on that. And he always talks about if you're 4 schools in 4 years, you're not going to graduate. What does that say? Like, he's just very anti that, but it literally represents both transfers that they have right now. Pringle was at Wofford, then he was at Alabama, and then he was at South Carolina, and now he's at Arkansas. And Malik Ewan was at Ole Miss, and then he had to go JUCO, and then he was at Florida State, and now he's at Arkansas. You know what I mean? And so that, like, I do find that to be interesting. Will they go younger next year? I don't know. I actually don't think it matters. I just think you got to find the biggest, baddest, most productive rebounding, shot blocking son of a you-know-what and just go get him. I don't care if he's 28 years old. Cal might. I don't. Like, just go get him.
Yeah, I know that it's like contract years are very much a thing, but I think guy trying to play his way to another NIL bag is probably not the premise you would bring a guy in. You know what I mean? Like if they had brought in a sophomore shooter like Ian Jackson or someone like that, it wouldn't be like, oh, let's get him so that he'll be motivated to get a bigger bag next year. It's like most of these kids don't even know what they're going to eat for lunch on Monday. You know what I mean? Like they're not, I don't think they think they're all getting drafted this year as well. So I think Cal's going to always go for guys that, want to win and want to play in the NBA. So that's kind of the big thing.
Yeah. Fishman says, don't be too hard on any dumb comments tonight, fellas. We're pissed right now. I think we only had one, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, yeah, no, I think, and that wasn't even, it was just like a spur of the moment, one that we wanted to make fun of.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's just because I don't like that guy.
I just don't understand, but whatever. Oh, I think it's what you're talking about. Ryan, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Seriously. By the way, as of 5:45 this morning, I'm officially a grandpa. That is really cool. And hopefully mom, baby, happy, healthy, all those things. But enjoy that, man. That's awesome. Happy for you. And appreciate
I'm happy for you as well.
Considering all that. That's awesome.
I am happy for you as well. And we don't hate you prior to, the jokes that we like to make.
I can't stand you, dude. I can't.
I do just hope you will maybe think about your family before you hop on the internet to talk shit about grown men every single day of your life. I don't know. Maybe at some point, you can wake up at and not be like, hey, I'm going to get on the internet and grift online, hating other grown men. Like maybe at some point you're like, shit, let me set an example, geez.
Yeah. I had one guy today on Twitter tell me that because we said Arkansas could be a potential Final Four team, that I'm a terrible father. My son is screwed because I think that way. So I was like, wow, that's rough, man. My bad. Washburn Idol says Jay Billis last brain cell. Refs are doing a good job keeping this game under control.
He did say that in the midst of a game that was just objectively not under control. And there's plenty of people responsible. I mean, Arkansas had players that contributed. Cal contributed. Golden contributed. Players. But like the refs very much did not have that game under control, which I don't know if anybody would, but that was a very weird thing to be like, oh man, they're doing a great job. This game is totally not going to take 3 hours long.
He did that. And then he also did the oh damn, what was it? It was oh, I remember what it was. He was like, yeah, the Razorbacks are the top team in the country in fewest turnovers. They value the basketball. That has not been the case tonight. And I looked at the box score and Arkansas had 3. I was like, okay. Yeah. So that's actually the least of their issues here. They're just taking horrible shots. But Lanky says, checking in 1 hour from March, fellas. I can't even do the bit now.
No,
I was so prepared. Even if it was like a 10-point loss, I was going to open the pod and be like, it's March, baby. The best time of the year. No.
Yeah, no.
It's not the time for that.
The only time you can do it is if they win on Wednesday, then all of a sudden you're undefeated in March, and let's roll.
Yeah, for sure. M. Vandy 17 says Cal needs size next year. Yes, he does. You need a blend of it too. Like if we had it our way, he would go get a I hate when people do this because before it was who was the dude from UConn? Sonogo. You gotta go get a Sonogo.
Go get a guy like that. Yeah.
And now we could be like, oh, they got to go get a Chinyalu. Yeah, sure, because those are growing on trees out there. But you need a big physical bruising type of dude like that, who can combat or play against somebody like that. And then I would like to see him get somebody who then is kind of like the Condons of the world from a standpoint of, hey, you're 6'11" and you're not a P word. And you can block shots. So you mix physicality with then somebody who's lengthy and athletic and long. And then you get a stretch guy who can do both. Like that, there's certain prototypes you can do to where you can cover all bases, which Arkansas didn't do this year. But yeah, they got to go get some size. I am glad that at least we know the freshmen that they have coming in, not big men, they're all guards, but
they are grown man size.
They are adult males. Yeah, like they will be able to handle a physical game as freshmen. Not that like Acuff has been incapable of doing that. He's very good at it. But like Jordan Smith Jr. and JJ Andrews, Abdou Toure, those dudes are well put together coming in here. So that'll be nice.
You know what Arkansas should target in the portal is a guy who's like been on SEC teams and like been in SEC rotations, started SEC games, and like been like kind of an enforcer on other SEC teams before. That's the kind of guy, a physical big man that's played in the SEC, maybe at multiple SEC schools. That's the kind of guy Arkansas should go target in the portal.
Well, we've been hearing rumors on Samto Surreal for 3 years now. He's going to follow Cal after he comes to Kentucky. That didn't happen. And then last offseason, at this time of year, it was, he's rumored to hit the portal, and Cal's gonna get him. And now we're hearing that again. And it's like I'm not even gonna really entertain it unless he actually enters the portal. But that type of guy would be nice. Nice to have.
50% of the chat that thought I was making a Somtos Cyril reference, and then the other 50% that understood that I was referencing Nick Pringle.
Yeah. Lando Lake says, I wonder if Cal will start Ewan finally.
I actually think he might.
He shakes things up when they get punked.
We joked the other day that like, oh, you can't change it after a win. I think the loss might be just exactly what he needed to change that damn lineup.
Yeah, a win is the exact opposite of what you did tonight. So maybe he makes that move finally. Gosh. Florida fan, Gator Rican, I gotcha. Says, serious question. What weaknesses do you all see on my Gators? None tonight, my guy.
I ain't see much, man.
But no, honestly, I was really, really, really impressed with Florida. And I'm not patting myself on the back, but I don't go into these games blind. I watched like 4 Florida games been watching them all year, but between the last time these two teams played and when this game happened on Saturday, I watched 4 different games. I watched the Texas game that they most recently played. They didn't look anything like they did tonight. I watched the Kentucky game that they played, and I thought they looked good, but not like this. And I watched Alabama, who they destroyed, because I thought it was a similar style of play. Like, how would that match up? Turns out maybe Florida's a really good matchup for teams that play like Arkansas and Alabama. I don't even remember I watched the Auburn, because I was like, how the hell did they lose to Auburn? The weaknesses would be if the backcourt plays like they did earlier in the season, if they're not making shots from the perimeter. You know what I mean? Like, because the front court is going to be there and the rebounding is going to be there. You guys are great in transition. You run your stuff. You're connected. You protect the rim. I think they've got enough depth. Like, there's a lot of really, really good things there with Florida. The defense was suffocating. I really do think it comes down to if Boogie and Lee are struggling and they're not making shots, and teams are able to just kind of back off of them and provide extra help in there in the paint. If something was to get them, it would be that version of the guard play. I thought both of those guys played really well tonight, though. Flan and Lee both. I was impressed.
Lee has sneaky been good for a few weeks now.
He's
had a couple, he's had some big games where he scored like 25, 26 points for them. But he just seems like they had a guy, Walter Clayton last year was such a mature, composed, savvy, like as a veteran point guard gets. And Lee is certainly not that. He's not on that same level, but he does seem to be at least becoming a little bit better at being like that real heady veteran lead guard that is kind of perfect for the team they have. Yeah.
I thought Boogie actually did a really good job on – people are going to get mad that I say this. I thought he did a really good job on Acuff defensively. And, he was holding and being physical with him and stuff. Hey, if you can get away with it, you can get away with it. But he did a good job of when the ball was out of Acuff's hands, he wasn't letting it get back in there, especially early in that game. He kind of impressed me from that standpoint. But, yeah, I'll be honest. Like, going into the game, I looked at Florida and thought, could they make another Final Four? Yes. Can they repeat? I don't think so. I might be off that. Of all the teams that Arkansas has played this year, who are you more impressed with?
I
know you saw
the version of Florida
Duke early. You saw,
It is worth noting that, obviously this was Florida's best game of the year.
Game.
This was a very if they're playing like this, genuinely, they are not losing like that. They hit 8 threes, Curtis.
I know.
They're 8 of 19 from 3, man.
Usually what Arkansas does.
If they hit 8 threes against anybody, even if it is Michigan, even if it is Duke or whoever, if they hit 8 threes against those teams, they're going to match up well everywhere else. Yeah, they're going to be tough. And then, frankly, this time last year, I didn't think Florida was about to win a natty, but then they kind of leveled up, and perhaps this Florida team is leveling up at the same time.
I have to ask this question: did Acuff just lose Player of the Year?
I don't think so, because who is it that would now be running to the front of it?
Thomas Houck, who went for 22.
Yeah, but hadn't he kind of calmed down a little bit his last few games?
The Texas game he did. Yeah.
Yeah. I think obviously, but the thing that helps is that there's 4 different guys on this Florida team that you could kind of, especially Chinyelu. I have seen people float Chinyelu as an SEC Player of the Year candidate. Not that means he's going to win it or whatever, but I wonder if that might, help separate the vote a little bit. But yeah, if Florida ends up 16-2 and wins the league by 3 games or something like that, which it does seem like is very possible, it's gonna be tough. But I don't know. I think it still would be kind of a travesty if it did go to Acuff. But we'll see how he finishes the last 3 games. If he sucks up the last 3 games, then it'll be harder to make that argument.
Florida had 7 guys in double figures. That's gross.
Which I do think, narratively speaking, helps. That Florida is viewed as just the best team. It's not like Tommy Houck is just carrying the boys.
Right. I guess since this is for a Florida player and not a Razorback, so I'll pull it up real quick. Tuna says Boogie Flan visited Epstein Island. That's crazy. Poor Boogie, man. Quinn, what's up, man? Quinn was mentioning us a little bit during the game. The other game that was going on was Auburn losing at home to Ole Miss.
Is that what happened?
Did they wind up losing the game, right? I think so. I think that's why he said this.
Oh,
He said,
my God.
Auburn is done on the baseball, softball, track and field, women's tennis, also like NCAA wrestling. So watch more of that over the first weekend of the NCAA basketball tournament. I'm almost positive. I want to look because I don't want to
That makes sense as to why Bruce Pearl was on television today saying that Miami of Ohio shouldn't get in the tournament.
They lost at home to Ole Miss 85-79.
Yeah, no, that'll probably do it.
They're done. Yeah,
that'll do it.
Yikes, dude. That's tough. What's worse? Losing at Florida by 100 or losing at home to Ole Miss?
Losing at home to Ole Miss still.
Okay. All right.
Because Florida, you ran into a buzzsaw. Ole Miss.
Yeah, for sure.
You stabbed yourself in the face.
The good news for you, though, Quinn, is that you do have a really good baseball team. I don't know about the other sports. I probably got to get clued in on that, but the baseball team's solid.
Quinn, fire Stephen Pearl, right? Is that fair to say? I mean, is that even a hot take? Just auto, just like, hey, clearly you're not.
Don't you? Or do you need to give him a year to recruit his own team?
Nah, I wouldn't, but I'm sure that's what they'll say.
But I was saying that sarcastically.
He's not gonna have a better team than the one he just got.
I was saying that sarcastically from a standpoint because like what's the benefit of giving him another year? Bruce Pearl, an elite coach, an elite recruiter. I know it was like a lot of turnover or whatever. Built that roster for you and then gave it to you, and it didn't work out. Quinn would probably say retain guys you need to retain, and then go out and see what you can do. I imagine he's going to get another year, but I wouldn't. But they gave him like a 5-year deal also. He says Florida is the class of the SEC, clearly. That's
no doubt about that.
Yeah.
We get it, Florida. We get it, man. We heard you.
It's like I said at the top, man. Yeah, there are levels, and Florida's on a different one. It looked like they were playing a different sport, man. It's crazy. They're really good. I would love to see I hate doing this thing because, like Arkansas is having a good year, but it's like, God, I would love to see an Arkansas team play like that. Those dudes are connected, man. Tripp says, how much better is this team if you flip Pringle for Morez? How much better?
Obviously, they'd be better. I think that, like you said earlier, the more realistic conversation is flip Ewan and Pringle for Morez, in which case they're still better. Like, no doubt about it.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, that would be the actual conversation.
Right. And I'm sure they still could have gotten like a mid-major starting big man from somewhere to be a backup. And you play Morez 32 minutes and get crazy. They'd be a lot better. What are they now? 21-8. That'd probably be the difference in 2 or 3 wins, I would think.
Beat Bama. You probably don't lose one of those Auburn Georgia games early. We'll call it. You don't lose to Kentucky, maybe.
Yeah. Paddlefish says, Curtis, a buddy at work, thinks Cal cares more about developing 5-star freshmen than winning national championships based on how he roster builds. True. Well, he's got 2 5-star freshmen on the roster. And he returned 4 guys, and he went and got 2 portal guys. If he was still doing the thing he was doing at Kentucky, where he got 8 freshmen and brought them in here and rolled with that, maybe we could have that conversation. But of course, he cares about developing the 5-star freshmen
this whole time.
So should he pass on getting one of the top 5 players in the country to come be on the team because he's a youngster? He takes exception to that. If you notice, Paddlefish, I know you're talking about what your buddy at work says, but anytime Cal gets the opportunity, he'll sneak in there that he hears the people who say he doesn't care about winning, and he's like, "Well, come to one of my practices and tell me how you feel about that." What would caring about winning a national championship look like that we aren't seeing?
I'll tell you what it looks like, Curtis. Let's look at Cal's one national title.
Mm-hmm.
How did he win it? What did that roster have?
Yeah.
It had 4 5-star freshmen. And I get it. It's harder to do freshmen, but it's like, if you look at Cal's tenure, and if you were claiming the year he won the national title, that would be the year he tried to win the title. He did it by having the best player in the country, who was a freshman. So I think it's definitely not, to your point, not an either or thing of like, I'm choosing to recruit freshmen rather than win a national title, obviously. But yeah, Paddlefish, tell your buddy at work to come up with like that is the least original like talking point. That's almost as original as being like, Cal, he's a great recruiter, but I don't know about the X's and O's.
Yeah.
It's like if you're still saying that in 2026 and you think that's like an original thought that no one has had before, I don't know how that happens.
Is your friend from work from BBN by chance? I'm just throwing that out there.
Let me guess. DJ Wagner used to start over Rob Dillingham.
Dude, it was so funny how many people thought I was serious about some of that stuff today. Would you see Myron Metcalf?
I did see
the Reed Shepard thing. Cal brought him off the bench, man. And I was like, hey,
he was in the G League last year. Like,
let's relax. He's coming off the bench for Houston, man. Cal did him a favor, prepared him for this. So many people are like, you're an idiot. It's like, it's satire, you morons.
Well, it's funny because Curtis, I kid you not, Rockets fans right now are like, why isn't Reed Shepard starting? Let's just throw him in there at point guard. Let's just have him run the point, which maybe they will do, but it's like time is a flat circle.
Yes, of course it is. Hayden Tarwater says 42 Doug said that he's bringing all of Detroit to Fayetteville to watch Darius for his final home game. Still believe he's player of the year. That's another reason why Acuff is playing Wednesday.
Yeah, he's not
like for anybody who's like, okay, now it's time. You got blown out, so now it's time to set him and everything.
Skip his final game at Bud Walton. Hell no.
Yeah, there ain't no way. Saturday, I'm not willing to have that conversation until this time next week. Yeah. But yeah, that's cool. The 42 Doug thing, I saw that. I hope that he's got a bunch of family and everything down there, and I hope Arkansas has a big crowd. Like I said, they have to win this damn game. So
yeah, he said all of the Detroit rap scene. Eminem, Eminem.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, just come on. Like, let's just do it. Just hop on down.
Yeah, why not? I like that. I like that a lot. Quinn says Stephen Pearl's not getting fired unless Bruce says so. He's calling the shots.
That tells it then. Well, I don't think Bruce is going to tell him that.
That'd be crazy.
Did you see Bruce firing off tweets about Iran today?
I did. Yeah, I did. Not going to get into politics though. Not me. Obviously, he said he wasn't going to do that. He's priming himself for the run, man. Another super chat from Quinn, and thank you. We appreciate you, buddy. About his Auburn baseball team, said they'll be in the mix this year. Track and field could win a natty on the men's side. Take it easy. Take it easy.
Hey, you better watch out if you're talking track now.
Have been the mix the last couple of years. Women's tennis could win it all, along with men's and women's golf. Softball is back on the up. Is our softball team good this year?
Oh, our softball, dude, they're absolutely
they're rolling again. Okay.
Yeah, I think at one point, I think at after yesterday's game, they were hitting like 408 on the year.
Oh, nice.
They're like kicking teams' asses.
Good. I like that. All right, man. Let me ask you this. Do you feel better now than you did when we started this show?
Yeah, but only just because time has gone by and time is the healer of all. But no, I mean, listen, it's just one of those things. You just got to take it on the chin. Like we could sit here and be mad and we can talk about why it happened or, whatever. But it's like, a lot of times with these post games, we're like trying to find the narrative of like trying to frame it. This one, it's not hard. Florida whipped your ass. They showed you they're better than you and you got some work to do. And, if you face a team like them, you're going to be in trouble. These are things that we kind of knew, but, sometimes you just need to have a good bleed, as Pelfrey said. And I do feel better because it's just like, I think there's comfort in hitting rock bottom of like having a matchup that win as poorly as possible. And it's like, okay, now we find out who you are. And we've said that a few times now, but I'm excited to see just kind of what the talking points are from the Razorback team leading into that Wednesday game of kind of how they're framing it, what they think. But for the most part, I don't have much more to add other than let's just sit in this pile of blood that we've created for ourselves.
Yeah. I think that probably about sums it up. Watch the report card. If you wake up and you're still mad tomorrow, watch the report card and it'll make you feel better because everybody's going to get bad grades. If you wake up and you're in a good mood, watch it anyway because you'd be doing me a solid. But yeah, no, seriously, be on the lookout for that. It's gonna be out there as always. And tune into the Bombastic because baseball is rolling again. They're back, baby.
Back on, man. Back on.
They're back. All right. So make sure you check that out. But seriously, appreciate everybody for hanging out with us on a Saturday night that didn't go particularly well for most of you out there. And keep rocking with us here. If you're not subscribed to the Inside Arkansas YouTube channel, do that before you get out of here. And we'll be back with you real soon. For Andrew Ellis and Curtis Wilkerson, and also intern Gigi, intern Cameron in there crushing it. Appreciate them as always, and appreciate you guys. And we will see you next time. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I'm glad you feel better. Baseball don't let us down.